Mic test 1 2 3. Microphone test 1 2 3.
Squares now, and once the sheriff goes to speak, everybody will slide in together to the center. For those of you who hear on the commission, everybody just walks off stage. What you do when you're done speaking, you come to the back of the line, everybody slides up to keep it together. We have
I'm not speaking, so let me...
No, you're perfectly fine. Okay. So just make sure you
All right, good morning. This is the 9 a.m. press conference for the Kincade incident here affecting Sonoma, Lake, and Napa counties. Just to start things off, if we could have everybody in the room please mute their telephones. If you do need to take a phone call or have a conversation, I ask you to do it outside of the press conference area. Additionally, at the conclusion of the English language version of this press conference, we will have a Spanish language version with representatives from fire and law enforcement. As we did yesterday, we will have an update from the Weather Service as well as our fire behavior analyst as well as our incident commander this morning. Where we stand right now, since we were here last night at about 6:30, is the fire has grown to 66,000 acres and is still 5% contained. The fire is still threatening just under 80,000 homes, predominantly in Sonoma County, and we can confirm that 96 structures have been destroyed and 16 have been damaged. A full breakdown of what type of structures those are, homes, businesses, outbuildings, has been published this morning and is available online. Overnight, the most fire activity that we saw was just south of the town of Windsor along the Shiloh Ridge area. Firefighters made an aggressive stand in that area and brought in a significant number of resources as it was impacting a relatively populated area. We do not have a published list of the impact of that area yet. We will get that as soon as possible, but we do know that was the area of the most activity last night. As far as where we are at this point, we have the National Guard as well as firefighters from a number of neighboring states now here at the fire. Our numbers have been brought up to over 4,000 firefighters here battling this fire in this county. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Ryan Walburn from the National Weather Service just to give us a brief update on what we can expect.
All right, good morning. So we still are under a red flag warning that will expire at 11 o'clock this morning. After that, it's going to give us a good window of opportunity with some quieter weather this afternoon, overnight tonight, and into Tuesday morning. So we're hoping the firefighters can take advantage of those calmer weather conditions. What we're starting to get ready for, though, is another red flag event. Right now, it looks like that's going to start sometime midday Tuesday and push us into Wednesday morning. So we've got a kind of a quiet 24-hour window right now, and then we're going to go into another critical period Tuesday night into Wednesday. As we march forward in time, we do see less wind as we get towards the end of the week. That's in our favor, but unfortunately no rain does remain in the forecast. Thanks.
I'd now like to invite up our fire behavior analyst, Steve Vollmer.
Good morning. The firefighters are actively engaged right now. With this wind shift that the meteorologist spoke of, it's going to give us a decrease in the fire behavior out there, which is going to limit the amount of spotting we have, which is going to limit the flame lengths and the fire intensity. That's going to give those firefighters a great opportunity to go in and do the jobs they need to do. We still have a lot of problems with the fire weakened timber in the area. It's coming down across the roads. It's causing us issues getting to and from the area, as well as causing a lot of spot fires to roll out down those steep drainages in the northern portion of the incident. Today, when the wind shifts, it doesn't give us that much of a calming sensation, because in the northeast corner of this fire, it has not been wind tested yet. That's the area of most importance that we're looking at today, because that's the area where the wind is going to have the tendency to blow some of those embers across the line. And currently, the firefighters are preparing for that next wind event that's coming. We're still doing a lot of the modeling to try to get them the best product that we can.
We'll now get a briefing from one of our incident commanders, Mike Blankenheim.
All right, good morning, everybody. So as you're probably all aware, the weather predictions surfaced as predicted yesterday, and the fire was extremely active during the day yesterday, starting at about 1 o'clock yesterday morning. By looking at the map, you can see the fire more than doubled in size yesterday, and that did present some challenges for us. So the priority for today is we're going to work on the Mount St. Helena area up where we just talked about in this northeastern corner. They're working on perimeter control there today, and then coming down this side, working in the Mark West area and the Shiloh Ridge area. The fire did make it that far south last night to both Mark West and Shiloh Ridge, and so we're going to be really aggressive today with the break in the weather pattern, working on perimeter control in those areas that we just talked about, but not neglecting the structure defense in these areas in Healdsburg and Windsor where there's still active fire line. Thank you.
Are there any questions specifically for the incident commander?
Can you be more specific about the Shiloh Ridge area? Any structures still threatened? What's the situation in that area?
Yes, many structures still threatened there for sure. I don't think I want to speak to structures damaged or destroyed right now. We don't have that intel right now, but yes, we're very concerned about structures threatened in there. And like we said a second ago, structure defense will be one of our priorities, but we're also going to take full advantage of the little bit of a lull in the weather today to be really aggressive with the perimeter control there.
I know you said 96 have been destroyed. Do you know how many overnight?
No, I'm not prepared to speak to that right now, no.
All right, thank you, Chief. We will get those numbers for damaged and destroyed as we go. We have damage inspection teams out there going through all of the areas, so as those numbers come out, we will get them. We do know that there were some additional structures damaged or destroyed last night. We'll get more specifics throughout the day. All right, with that, I'd like to now invite up Chief Essick from the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department.
Good morning. Mark Essick from the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office. So I want to give you a quick update on staffing and what's happening with the law enforcement presence. We currently have several hundred peace officers through mutual aid who are coming to us from all over the state, over 140 police agencies, primarily being supported by the California Highway Patrol and the National Guard. So we are very grateful for our partners for being able to be there for us, to help us maintain these evacuation areas and maintain safety inside those evacuation areas. So I want to go over a couple terms with you that you're going to start hearing quite frequently in the next few days, and that is re-entry and repopulation. So I want to set some definitions so people will understand what we're talking about. When we talk about re-entry, that is specific for going into an area that has been burned. So when we talk re-entry, that would be for people to re-access an area that had been suffered a burn, or we have structures burned, we have utilities down. When we talk about repopulation, repopulating an area is where we allow people back into an area that has been unaffected. So clearly what I want to talk about is re-entry. We have no plans for re-entry right now. Areas that have been burned have utilities down. We still have fire crews in there. People are working. Now we understand that people are very anxious to get into the burned areas to check on their property. They want to do re-entry, but at this point we are not doing re-entry at all. When it comes to repopulation, we do know that you're anxious to get home. I've had a lot of questions from people who live perhaps in the West County who are thinking they're not affected by this fire and there's no chance they're going to be affected. So we are working on repopulation. I don't have any announcements for you yet, but I can tell you that the general idea is we will start in somewhat of the reverse order of evacuations. When it comes to repopulation, we will look at repopulating the West County first and then move our way in. When we make those decisions, we will announce them on Nixle and other social media platforms, so please follow us there. And please subscribe to Nixle. It's not too late to subscribe to Nixle. You can text your zip code to 888-777 to receive those updates. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about why evacuations are important. It's really first to protect your life. As you've heard me talk over the last couple days, life is the most important thing. We have the warning, we have the ability to predict somewhat where this fire is going, so we want to get people out in front of that fire to save life. However, the second item that we're doing when we do evacuations, it really helps us protect property. And the example I want to talk about briefly is Windsor. So yesterday, in the northeastern area of Windsor, we had a very aggressive fight on the fire by our partners at CAL FIRE and all of the public safety people in that area. Had that area not been evacuated, those firefighters and public safety people would not have been as effective as they were, and it allowed them to aggressively fight the fire, and we had a lot of success yesterday in Windsor. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to our firefighters. The northern area of Windsor was saved yesterday because of their efforts, and a part of that is your efforts to evacuate allowed us to get in there and access that area. So thank you for following our directions. That is truly a success story. Continue to follow us on social media. Sign up for Nixle, as I just mentioned, to stay informed, and we will have another update for you soon. Thank you.
Sir, have you made any arrests for anyone trying to loot or trying to take advantage of the evacuation?
Can we hold that for the end real quick?
Oh.
I'll be glad to do follow-up questions with you in just a minute.
Speaking next from the California Highway Patrol is Chief Noyes.
Good morning, everybody. Assistant Chief Tim Noyes, California Highway Patrol. First, I'd like to announce late last night, we were able to open all of the 101. North and southbound are open for traffic. Do want to remind everybody, though, that there's still a large evacuated area, and all the ramps in those areas are still blocked, and they will remain blocked as long as it's evacuated. I do also want to remind everybody that even when we do start talking about allowing people back in, that there's still going to be a great deal of traffic in the area, especially moving resources and emergency personnel around, so please remember that. And I still want to remind everybody to be very cautious. We have a great deal of traffic out there. We're still moving resources around. There's debris all over the roadway still from the winds, and we still have a lot of power outages. So please plan ahead. Allow extra time when you're moving. Don't try and rush. We really appreciate all the patience that everybody's had. You've done a great job so far. We just ask you to keep continuing to do that. So thank you.
Speaking next, representing the County of Sonoma, is Supervisor Rabbit.
Thank you very much. So obviously, we have a very active and fluid situation still, and I appreciate, as last night, the firefighters rising to the challenge. I think the County of Sonoma has also risen to the challenge, as has our state and federal partners, and most importantly, the community has really risen to the challenge. We have shelters throughout this county, the southern portion of the county, primarily in Petaluma. We have shelters in Marin County and Napa County and Alameda County have also been helping us. I would encourage people, for shelter information, probably best to go online at socoemergency.org. That's SOCO emergency.org for information. We have asked you to prepare. We ask now for your patience. As the sheriff said, it's going to take some time for our firefighters to continue to gain containment on this fire to make sure that we can ensure that all areas are safe. So we ask for your patience. And we ask you to continue to do what you've always done, is to be kind to one another, to help one another out, to make sure that you take care of one another, take care of your family, your friends, your pets. We're in this for the long haul, and we definitely need to have patience, and we need to be careful. The public safety is the county's #1 concern. Thank you.
Our final speaker, representing the United States Congress, is Representative Huffman.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm Congressman Jared Huffman. I'm joined by Congressman Mike Thompson, who just arrived. And Congressman Thompson and I have been in touch with the Department of Homeland Security to seek assurances for anyone seeking shelter or services during this emergency that there would be no immigration enforcement activity. And I'm pleased to update you that within the last 24 hours we have received that official assurance from the Department of Homeland Security. So everyone seeking services or shelter from the immigrant community should do so with confidence that there will not be immigration enforcement activity.
Thank you. I'm happy to open it up to questions and answers for any of the representatives behind me now.
Can you give an update on the injuries to the firefighters yesterday? Were there 1 or 2? Were there any additional last night?
Yeah, so overnight we didn't have any additional injuries reported. Yesterday during day shift we had one minor burn injury that was taken by ground ambulance to a hospital. We also had a more serious burn injury that was flown to UC Davis Medical Center. That's the extent of what we're releasing at this moment pending the investigation.
Do we have any numbers on the number of people who were evacuated or homes evacuated?
You know, it is a large number. The best estimate we have at this point is about 185,000 people. 185,000.
And do you know how many were evacuated just last night?
I don't have those drill down numbers for you. I'm sorry.
Sheriff?
Yes.
So no evacuation orders or warnings have been lifted?
That's correct. So all current evacuation warnings and all current evacuation orders remain in full force and effect.
Do you anticipate issuing any new orders or warnings?
I would say it's still a fluid situation with the wind event that's coming up possibly Tuesday. I can't commit right now to say that there will not be. We're going to continuously evaluate, work with CAL FIRE, work with their intel to really determine what the best course of action is.
I know you said look to Nixle for more information about the current orders and warnings. Do you have any idea when folks like in Bodega Bay, General, can expect to hear one or another?
Sure, I can give you a rough estimate. Today at 10 a.m., Sheriff's Office leadership is going to be meeting with CAL FIRE leadership and Sonoma County EOC leadership to really take a hard look into what areas we can repopulate. So after that meeting today, we should have some direction, and I should have some news to report to you later. Thank you.
Was asked, but we didn't get an answer on arrests for possible looting or any other arrests.
Question about arrest. Yesterday, we covered a arrest that we had made for re-entry into an evacuation zone. That arrest was covered yesterday. It was a misdemeanor arrest. A gentleman was booked into Sonoma County Jail on a $1,000 bail. Overnight, we did have an additional arrest. I think it is worthy to note, however, I don't believe it's related to the overall fires. A woman was arrested in Sonoma yesterday on Napa Road for arson. But it appears to be an isolated incident where the woman was set afire at a residence in retaliation for a domestic situation that was occurring. We do not believe it is related to the overall fires, and we do not believe it was an intentional act to set a wildfire. It was targeted at a residence.
And the re-entry arrests, are those for people trying to get to their property, or is that people who shouldn't be there?
So we have, as I've talked a little bit over the past couple days, making an arrest for re-entry is a discretionary arrest. We understand that people are very anxious to get back to their property. We understand that people may choose to ignore the evacuation order to get back to their property. So the direction that I've given to all the peace officers and my deputy staff is to use compassion and use intelligence and compassion in dealing with these situations. If we have a person who's re-entered an area who's not supposed to be there and they're a homeowner, we're going to re-escort you back out of the area. However, if you are in a evacuated area and you've entered that area and you do not live there and you're prowling and you're up to no good and it looks like you're there for criminal motives, we are going to make an arrest.
Okay, so you can't say whether or not they were looters or suspected looters?
The gentleman that we arrested yesterday in the Larkfield Wickiup area did not live in the area. Essentially, he was up to no good, and we believe he may have been prowling, looking for a crime of opportunity to commit a looting, and so that's why we made the arrest.
Thank you.
And any other, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've just heard possibly people posing as insurance representatives to try to get into the area, looters.
So with our checkpoints, we are checking credentials. So we will check credentials and verify those credentials before we let somebody in.
That you haven't caught in.
We have not. Not that I'm aware of.
Are there any other questions for any other representatives up here? Okay, hearing none, just to kind of summarize for the takeaways from this press conference, today's focus continues to be perimeter control and structure protection, especially during this 24-hour window of opportunity we currently have with favorable weather conditions. Additionally, the damage inspection process is occurring right now, so DIN's teams are out there actually doing the inventory and getting a good set of numbers for what is damaged and destroyed. And thirdly, the focus is also on the repopulation plan. As the sheriff said, you will most likely be hearing additional information from the incident command staff later today about that. With that, I will close the press conference. You can expect another press conference here at 6:30 this evening. Thank you.
Can you tell us your name one more time?
Sure, Jonathan Cox, Jonathan Cox, COX.
Cal Fire.
Correct. Thank you. There will be a Spanish language version starting in just a few moments here.
I did not sleep well last night, but that's okay. Right. I think the first part I wasn't sounding very well. So I got back into it. See you later.